Hello, and welcome to your academic overview video. I'm Heather Werkel. I'm the Assistant Director of Academic Services for graduate programs in the Department of Communication, and I will be helping you with your academic journey in ComLead. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about my role as Assistant Director of Academic Services, how to connect with me, some top academic planning resources, the degree requirements for MCDM and MCCN, some sample schedules for full-time and part-time students, key academic policies and graduate school policies, how to list your degree on your resume and LinkedIn, and finally, graduating. So let's get started. My role as Assistant Director of Academic Services is to guide students on degree requirements and ComLead and graduate school policies, to provide advising on choosing electives and designing your individual career path. I manage the quarterly class registration process. I assist international students with CPT, curricular practical training, and OPT, optional practical training applications for work authorization. And I connect students to resources, both within the department, at UW at large, and in the larger community. The best way to connect with me is through email. You can email me at comlead@uw.edu or hwerkel@uw.edu. I monitor both inboxes, so either will work, and you can expect to receive a response within 2 business days. You can also schedule a phone or Zoom appointment with me using my calendar link at hwerkel.youcanbook.me. Now, this calendar link is in my email signature and also on my bio page on the ComLead website, so you can find it in either place. You can attend a pre-registration group advising session. I hold these each quarter, the week before registration begins, and this is a good opportunity to ask questions about classes to help finalize your plans for the next quarter. You can also attend additional workshops to learn more about academics at ComLead, and these will be advertised in the student newsletter that comes out regularly. Now, some of the top academic planning resources I want to introduce you to today are the ComLead Student Resources Canvas site. This you'll find in your Canvas dashboard along with all the classes that you're registered for the quarter. You are enrolled as a student in the Student Resources site. And think of this as your online student handbook. So it's a good first place to go when you have any questions. Your degree audit on MyUW or MyPlan is a way to check your completion of degree requirements and what you have left. And you can find this either at myplan.uw.edu or when you go into MyUW, it will list the degree audit or DARS, which stands for Degree Audit Reporting System, and the Academics tab. The ComLead website is a useful source of information for planning your classes. So on the classes page, which we'll talk about a little later as well, that is where you'll find which classes meet different degree requirements, when the classes meet, what's being offered for the quarter. So that is definitely going to be a useful tool for you. And then finally, there are a couple of graduate school processes that require that you submit a request through My Grad program, which can be found on the graduate school website. You're required to complete 45 credits to graduate, whether you're an MCDM or MCCN student, this is the same. Your core requirements are 15 credits. These include ComLead 501 and 502, the core classes that you take in fall and spring of your first year, as well as your research methods and law and ethics requirements. So a note about those, so research methods and law and ethics, they think of them like in undergrad, you had to take a certain number of social science classes or foreign language classes or lab science classes, but there were multiple options that could meet each of those requirements. That's the same for research methods and law and ethics. There are multiple classes that can meet each requirement, and you just have to take at least one of each in order to graduate. But keep in mind that they won't necessarily be offered every quarter. So we can't guarantee that there will be both research methods and law and ethics in your degree in any given quarter. So you'll want to plan ahead, check that classes page for the future quarters, and make sure you get those requirements completed early on in your degree. In addition to the core requirements, you have 30 credits of electives. Your electives will most likely be MCDM electives if you're an MCDM student or track neutral, or if you're an MCCN student, MCCN electives or track neutral electives. The track neutral electives apply equally to either degree, so those are considered home classes, whichever degree you're completing. You're also allowed to take up to 10 credits outside of your degree. So if you're an MCDM student, you could take up to 10 credits of MCCN electives. Or you could also choose to complete 5 credits of those 10 outside of the program entirely through another UW graduate program, such as the Information School, Human Centered Design and Engineering, or the Foster School of Business as some examples. So when you're planning your classes, keep that 10 credits option in mind, and that 5 of those might even be outside of the program. Your independent research and internship credits also count towards your electives, and these are also considered track neutral. So here's an example of a sample schedule for a full-time student. So a full-time student will typically take 10 credits per quarter, and so they will finish the degree in 5 quarters. 4 quarters of 10 credits of full-time status, and then 1 quarter of 5 credits. And this would be a typical way that students complete that, taking 10 credits their first 3 quarters. So by the time you finish spring of your first year, you've completed 30 credits. Many of our full-time students choose to complete an internship experience in the summer after their first year, though that's optional, so you don't have to do that. Then in next autumn, they would take 10 credits and finally complete the degree in winter 2022 with a 5-credit elective. So this student would complete their degree in March 2022 and would be eligible to participate in the June 2022 commencement ceremonies. Now, they could also choose to take that final 5 credits in summer instead and graduate in autumn 2021 in December. They would still participate in the same commencement ceremony either way. A part-time student will typically take 5 credits per quarter, so that's what I've laid out here in this sample schedule, where this person takes 5 credits every quarter, straight through for 9 quarters, and then would graduate in autumn 2022. Now, it's quite common for part-time students to do this, and in this case, the student would complete their degree in December 2022 and would be eligible to participate in the June 2023 commencement. You could also choose to take summers off, and in that case, the student would finish in spring 2023 and would still participate in the June 2023 commencement. So again, same commencement ceremony either way, just 2 different options. A key academic policy to be aware of, here's 3 of them, but I'll start with that you have to have a minimum 2.7 grade to count a class toward your degree requirements. So on a numerically graded class on the 4.0 scale, 2.7 is that minimum mark for that class to count. Basically, that is the minimum passing grade at the graduate level. Now, you also have to have a minimum 3.0 cumulative or average GPA to graduate. So this means you could have some classes at that minimum 2.7, but you would need to have others that were much higher than that in order to balance out and get that minimum 3.0 to graduate. And the final key policy here I want to bring your attention to is that you need to complete a minimum of 18 numerically graded credits. This means credits that receive that 4.0 scale grade. Because ComLead 501 and 502 are graded credit, no credit, so they're not numerically graded. That's the same with independent research and internship classes are also credit, no credit. You just want to be careful with how many of those you take to be sure that you take at least 18 numerically graded credits. Some other important graduate school policies to be aware of are the leave policy and master's requests. So leave status is required if you're not enrolled for autumn, winter, or spring quarter. Summer is not considered a required quarter by the graduate school, so you can take summer off with no action needed. However, if you want to take another quarter off, autumn, winter, or spring, you have to apply for leave status. It's a simple online form that opens up 2 weeks before the quarter begins, and you can apply anytime from then until the last day of instruction. It's a $25 leave fee that keeps your UW email and library access current, and keeps you in status with the graduate school. Now, final quarter enrollment, I mentioned this because you are required to be registered the quarter you graduate. So you can't apply to graduate after you've finished all your requirements, or you can't be completing an incomplete or something like that during the quarter you're hoping to finish the degree. You must actually be registered for credits in that final quarter. And graduation is not automatic. So this final point here is you have to submit a master's request to the graduate school in order to graduate. And this is submitted during your final quarter. A request opens up the first day of the quarter and closes the last day of instruction. So once you reach that final quarter, you will submit your master's request in order to graduate. Now keep in mind this has to happen during that final quarter. It cannot happen after. And these leave and master's requests are submitted through my grad program, which is on the graduate school website at grad.uw.edu. Now, as you'll learn in your marketing and branding classes, consistent branding is very important. And so we want to ensure that you are listing your degree correctly on your resume or LinkedIn so that people are sure of which program you've completed or are working on. So the program you're in is the Communication Leadership Program. Note that there's no S. Communication is always singular in this department, so keep your eye on that. Your degree is the Master of Communication, or MC, in contrast to, say, a Master of Arts, MA, or a Master of Science, MS. This is a Master of Communication, MC degree. So that's how that should be listed. And again, no S on communication, and master is also singular. It should never be Masters of Communication. Your area of study is either digital media or communities and networks. So think of that as like your major, like English or chemistry, whatever it might be. That's your area of study for the program. And I recommend you take a look at the style guide, which is on the CommLead Student Resources Canvas site, for more details about how to list and discuss your degree and program in professional communication. The final note I wanted to discuss, I know it's far away for many of you, but it will come faster than you think, graduation. So graduating is completing your degree, and this occurs whichever quarter you take your final credits and submit that master's request to the graduate school. Commencement is celebrating your graduation. So UW holds commencement ceremonies just once per year in June for all students who graduated or earned their degrees in the previous autumn or winter, or who plan to graduate in spring or summer. So just a note there about the difference between commencement, which is where you celebrate graduating, wear a cap and gown, walk across the stage, and shake professors' hands, versus actually graduating or completing your degree, which is the quarter you take your final credits and submit your master's request. And we'd like to celebrate both with you. So with that, that concludes the content that I wanted to discuss today. Thank you all for joining me, and please never hesitate to reach out with any questions. Either email me, as I mentioned, at comlead@uw.edu or hwerkel@uw.edu, or please schedule an appointment with me. I would love to talk with all of you. Have a great day.